My name is Jonathan. I am going through the intro on the gift of healing, and it's a Bible study that's specific to Luke. So if you're interested in reading through Luke and kind of getting a feel for all of the things that we'll talk through, we're specifically pulling out details on the gift of healing, and it's a Bible study. And so there'll be notes available, and there'll be opportunities for questions and answers and other kinds of details that we'll get into, especially live applications where the gifts and callings of God are irrevocable and they're active and dynamic today. And so I want to talk kind of through the basis of it before we get into the deep dives of the scriptural application in Luke. So let's begin. Luke was a doctor. So it's interesting that the gifts of healing study can come from a doctor and a doctor's perspective. And I think it's important to understand what the definition is when we get going. And so the gift of healing is a supernatural enablement. So it's something that the Holy Spirit restores health or removes disease or dysfunction. And sometimes it's demonic oppression. So those things can go together. It doesn't always have to be one or the other. It could be all of the things. And it's one of the spiritual gifts that are listed in the New Testament. So specifically in 1 Corinthians in chapter 12, verse 9, to another, faith by the same Spirit, and to another, gifts of healing, and by the same Spirit. So the Holy Spirit gives the gifts of healing, and then we need to kind of break down how these things apply. And so the specificity here is that the term is saying it's gifts with a plural, gifts of healing. So there's different types of healing. There's emotional, there's physical, and there's spiritual. And there's also different instances of divine empowerment. And so the difference of individuals that might carry specific expressions of healing. And we see all of these examples throughout the Bible where we can talk about Abraham, where the wombs were healed through intercession, and then they had children. So this is in Abimelech's household. In Exodus, there's Yahweh, who's the healer, and then Israel is the recipient. So this Israel being the recipient of the healing is also interesting because God reveals him as Jehovah Rapha. And that Hebrew stands for the Lord is who heals. So that's again from Exodus. Then we also have Numbers. So Numbers chapter 12, Moses is the healer and Miriam is the recipient. And there's this leprosy that's healed, and it's done instantly. And so in the instant, as an example, the hand was passed inside the garment, and then when it's moved outside the garment, the hand is leprous, and there was a judgment for that. But the healing came through Moses. And so the gift of healing is really what we wanted to talk about and focus on. So these are Old Testament instances. There's also from